Andy Roddick points out what's crazy impressive about Alexandra Eala following her Australian Open exit. Alexandra Eala wasn't able to build on her promising start in Australia, falling to Alicia Parks in the opening round. Eala came out strong, taking the first set 6-0, but couldn't maintain her momentum and dropped the next two sets 6-3, 6-2. Even in defeat, there were positives for Eala. One clear highlight was the strong backing she had from the stands. Court 6 filled up with fans eager to watch Eala play. Queues formed outside and Filipino flags were everywhere you looked. Andy Roddick impressed by Alexandra Eala's popularity. Alexandra Eala's following has even caught the attention of former world number 1 Andy Roddick, who spoke about it on the Served podcast. You look at the views on her press conferences versus the top stars in the world, she has a massive following in the Philippines. It's crazy impressive, and it's something that tournaments are going to have to pay attention to, he said. Didn't work out, Parks won. Great win for her. But this is the type of story you cheer for because it's great for tennis. Eala's pre-tournament media session pulled in 178,000 YouTube views, more than any other player at the event. That includes bigger names like Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Coco Gauff. IGA Swiatek spoke earlier this week about how Eala might be one of the most popular players on tour right now. Alexandra Eala exits Australian Open with doubles defeat. Alexandra Eala's 2026 Australian Open run has come to an end after a first-round loss in the women's doubles. Eala and Ingrid Gamora Martins were beaten by Magda Linette and Shuko Aoyama, 7-6, 2-6, 6-3. The victory sets up a second-round match for Linette and Aoyama against either Rebecca Shramkova and Linda Noskova or Aisha Mohammed and Erin Routliffe. With her Australian Open journey complete, Eala now has the chance to participate in the inaugural WTA 125 Philippine Women's Open back home in Manila. Rising with the tide, Andy Roddick's take on Alexandra Eala's Australian Open journey. In the world of tennis, where Grand Slam victories often define legacies, sometimes the story isn't only about how deep a player goes. It's about what they awaken in the sport itself. That's exactly the narrative surrounding Alexandra Eala and why *** Andy Roddick, a former world number 1 and Grand Slam champion, recently called something about her crazy impressive after her Australian Open exit. Eala's 2026 Australian Open didn't end with trophies or a late-stage run. In both singles and doubles, the 20-year-old Filipina's tournament concluded earlier than she hoped. In singles, she took the first set against her opponent, and did so decisively, but ultimately fell in 3 sets. In doubles, she and her partner bowed out in a competitive match that went the distance. Yet, even in defeat, something remarkable caught the eye of one of the sport's most respected voices. A debut that roared. Eala made her main draw debut at the Australian Open with an energy boost unlike any typical newcomer experience. Instead of playing on an overlooked court with sparse spectators, she stepped onto a stage full of fervent supporters, specifically a huge contingent from the Philippines and beyond. Court 6 at Melbourne Park, known for its cozy setting, was overflowing as fans queued up early, packed the stands and waved flags in a sea of red, white, and blue. The atmosphere was electric. Filipino fans brought their passion far from home, cheering loudly for every point she played. The crowd's energy became a defining element of her match, so much so that even her opponent acknowledged that the environment was difficult to navigate. What's particularly striking isn't just the volume of the support, it's how quickly Eala has galvanized it. Her presence at Melbourne Park wasn't about a decade of wins. She's young, still building toward her prime, yet she already inspires entire stadiums to rise and cheer for her. Why Andy Roddick was impressed. On his podcast, former world number 1 Andy Roddick spoke about Eala's popularity as something crazy impressive. His focus wasn't on her match scores alone. It was on the social impact she's having on tennis. Roddick pointed out that Eala's press conference views on YouTube far surpassed those of tennis superstars, including players like Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, and Coco Gauff at the Australian Open. Such overwhelming online engagement, especially for someone not yet among the sport's elite by ranking, is crazy impressive, he said. This is significant for a few reasons. 1. Fan engagement beyond performance. Normally, the players with the highest views and social pull are the ones contending for championships, names frequently mentioned in media coverage, brand deals, and fan conversations. Eala's reach at this stage indicates a different kind of appeal, one that blends national pride, fresh personality, and aspirational energy. 2. A growing global tennis narrative. Eala's popularity reveals how tennis has become more globalized. Fandom is no longer centered only on the traditional powerhouses of Europe and North America. It embraces new regions, cultures, and identities. In Eala's case, the Philippines, a country without a deep tennis history, suddenly has a standard-bearer on the world stage. 3. The power of story over stats. Roddick's words underscore an age-old truth in sport: stories matter. Fans don't always connect with numbers, they connect with narratives, the underdog, the trailblazer, the once-in-a-generation spirit that captures hearts. Eala's journey embodies that narrative more than most players her age. More than a match, a movement. What many people noticed at the 2026 Australian Open wasn't simply a tennis match. It was a moment of cultural significance. The crowd and the culture. Fans didn't just show up as spectators, they came as a community. Filipino flags adorned the stands. Chants of encouragement echoed louder than many marquee matches. Some fans even watched from outside the court on big screens when full capacity was reached. For Eala, this wave of support was a mixed blessing, heartwarming yet overwhelming, because the buzz around her support system became part of her competitive experience. She spoke candidly about the emotions attached to that support. While uplifting, it added pressure to deliver results. Representing a nation,